Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirahi Ashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Ruttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namah. ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरान्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतपदकमलं श्रीगुरोन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपां साग्रजातान् सहगणा रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवम् साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधा कृष्णपदां सगणा ललिता श्रीशाखान्वितांश्च नमः। ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे नमो महावदान्याय कृष्णप्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरद्विषे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिन्धु दीनबन्धु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कान्त राधा कान्त नमस्ते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। पाञ्चकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। यस।
From Canto 3, Chapter 25, the glories of devotional service. So, we are at some of the very crest jewel shlokas of Bhagavatam, where Kapila Muni is describing glories of devotional service to Mata Devahūti. So, we are at text 25. We just recite this one, very important shloka. Satam prasangad mama virya samvido भवन्तिर्कर्णरसायन कथाः तज्जोषनादाश्वपवर्गवर्त्मनि श्रद्धारतिर्भक्तिरनुक्रमिष्यति Translation.
In the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attraction becomes fixed. Then real devotion and devotional service begin. Purport. The process of advancing in Krishna consciousness and devotional service is described here. The first point is that one must seek the association of persons who are Krishna conscious and who engage in devotional service. Without such association, one cannot make advancement. Simply by theoretical knowledge or study, one cannot make any appreciable advancement. One must give up the association of materialistic persons and seek the association of devotees, because without the association of devotees, one cannot understand the activities of the Lord. Generally, people are convinced of the impersonal feature of the absolute truth. Because they do not associate with devotees, they cannot understand that the absolute truth can be a person and have personal activities. This is a very difficult subject matter, and unless one has personal understanding of the absolute truth, there is no meaning to devotion. Service or devotion cannot be offered to anything impersonal. Service must be offered to a person. Non-devotees cannot appreciate Krishna consciousness by reading the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam or any other Vedic literature wherein the activities of the Lord are described. They think that these activities are fictional, manufactured stories because spiritual life is not explained to them in the proper mood. To understand the personal activities of the Lord, one has to seek the association of devotees, and by such association, when one contemplates and tries to understand the transcendental activities of the Lord, the path to liberation is open and he is freed. One who has firm faith in the Supreme Personality of Godhead becomes fixed, and his attraction for association with the Lord and the devotees increases. Association with the devotees means association with the Lord. The devotee who makes this association develops the consciousness for rendering service to the Lord and then being situated in the transcendental position of devotional service, he gradually becomes perfect. Hare Krishna.
Very important verse. Satam is in the association of pure devotees. Satam prasangat mama virya samvedo bhavanti rit karana rasayana. In the association of pure devotees, discussions of the pastimes and the activities of the Lord is very pleasing and satisfying to Rit and Karana, to the heart and to the ear. Very important elements. In the association of devotees, pure devotees, we have to discuss the activities of the Supreme Lord. Satam prasangat mama virya. Lord is saying this mama, that's for the activities. Virya means, the various phenomenal activities of the Lord. What happens? Bhavanti rit karana rasayana kataha. That becomes karana rit rasayan and gives complete satisfaction to ear and the heart. Tajjoshanat ashva apavargavartmani. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation. Apavargavartmani. And then slowly, Shraddha, Ratir, Bhaktir, Anukramishati. Then he is freed, his attraction towards the Lord becomes fixed, and the real devotion and devotional service begins. Shraddha, Ratir, Bhaktir, Anukramishati. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, this is the process of advancing in Krishna consciousness and devotional activities to the Supreme Lord. So what is the first point? The first point is that one has to associate with the pure devotees, right? And in that association, what one has to do? One has to engage in devotional service, and the engagement in devotional service begins with hearing, Shravanam. That's why, we have this Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. The first one is hearing. This is the way one can very quickly make advancement by the association of the devotees. Just like every day in the morning, we are associating with Srila Prabhupada through his purports. Without such association, the devotional service appears to be very theoretical or something which is only on the mental platform, right? So when we associate with the devotees, we understand pastimes of the Supreme Lord. For Lord to have pastime, the absolute truth has to be person and must having personal activities, right? So this is where the Sanatana Dharma is going to grow very, very big. Because the Supreme Lord is a personality, and personality with personal activities with the devotees, there is something to discuss. If the Lord is only Brahman or Lord is only Paramatma, Upadrishtacha, Anumantacha, what you will discuss? What are the activities of the Brahman? No, but there is only light. What are the activities of Paramatma? In a way, yes, Upadrishtanumanta. But when when understands the absolute truth to be on the highest platform as Bhagavan, then there are activities to be performed by the Lord in connection with the devotees, and these activities are to be discussed by the Lord, by the devotees in the association, and then there is great purification, right? So Prabhupada says here, unless one has the personal understanding of the absolute truth, there is no meaning to devotion. So devotion and devotional service exist only when we accept the absolute truth as the personality of Godhead. Right? If the personality is not there, what kind of seva you are going to offer? What seva you will do to the light? There is no seva to the light. So service must be offered to a person. And this is how the non-devotees, they cannot appreciate Krishna consciousness so much. Neither they can appreciate activities of the Lord, neither they can appreciate. And they will say, oh, all these are manufactured stories, or these are all mythology. And just to make you attracted, these are some manufactured mythologies. Right? Mythology is a very derogatory word. Mythology word comes from the word mithya. Myth, mythology. But the activities of the Lord are not mythology. They are on such divine platform, Param Bhavam Ajananto, that the conditioned soul thinks that it is mythology. Just imagine somebody is working for 10,000 rupees. And then if he to be told activities of Mukesh Ambani, that for his wife's birthday, some 50th birthday, he gifted 500 crore aeroplane. He will do his own calculation that my salary is 10,000. How can we? It's all mythology, he will say. Similarly, the conditioned soul thinks the Lord in his own terms and thinks activities of the Lord to be mythology. But in fact, the activities of the Lord are the ways to attain the liberation, right? Especially when these activities are heard in the association of the devotees. And therefore, satam prasangat mama virya samvido. Prabhupada makes a very powerful statement here. Association of the devotees means association with the Supreme Lord. Look at this. What is the association of devotees? Means association with Supreme Lord. The devotee who makes this association develops the consciousness for rendering service to the Lord, and thus gradually becomes perfect. So very amazing verse. This summarizes the process of devotional service. Text 26, again a very important verse. Let's recite this. Bhaktya pumanjat viraga indriyat
Bhakya
Krishna Shritan Charananuchintaya Chittasya yatto grahane yoga yukto
Ittasya yatto grahane yoga-yukto
Dishyate rujibhir yoga margaihi
Yatishate yoga-margaihi.
Translation.
Translation. Thus, consciously engaged in devotional service in the association of devotees, a person gains distaste for sense gratification both in this world and in the next by constantly thinking about the activities of the Lord. This process of Krishna consciousness is the easiest process of mystic power. When one is actually situated on the path of devotional service, he is able to control the mind. Purport. In all scriptures, people are encouraged to act in a pious way so that they can enjoy sense gratification not only in this life but also in the next. For example, one is promised promotion to the heavenly kingdom of higher planets by pious fruitive activities. But a devotee in the association of devotees prefers to contemplate the activities of the Lord, how he has created this universe, how he is maintaining it, how the certain creation dissolves, and how in the spiritual kingdom the Lord's pastimes are going on. There are full literatures describing these activities of the Lord, especially Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Samhita, and Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. The sincere devotee who associates with devotees gets the opportunity to hear and contemplate this subject of the pastimes of the Lord, and the result is that he feels distaste for so called happiness in this or that world, in heaven or on other planets. The devotees are simply interested in being transferred to the personal association of the Lord. They have no more attraction for temporary so called happiness. That is the position of one who is yoga yukta. One who is fixed in mystic power is not disturbed by the allurement of this world or that world. He is interested in the matters of spiritual understanding or the spiritual situation. This sublime situation is very easily attended by the easiest process, bhakti-yoga. Rujabir yoga margaha. A very suitable word used here is rujabihi, or very easy. There are different processes of yoga marg attaining yoga perfection. But this process, devotional service to the Lord, is the easiest. Not only is it the easiest process, but the result is sublime. Everyone should therefore try to take this process of Krishna consciousness and reach the highest perfection of life. Hare Krishna.
Bhaktya pumang jata viraga indriyat. Thus, consciously engaged in devotional service. Marks the word here, consciously engaged, right, in devotional service. In the association of the devotees, a person gains distaste for sense gratification, both in this and in the next world, by the constantly thinking about activities of the Supreme Lord. So, very, very beautifully summarized this is. Look at this. Constantly engaged in devotional service, in the association of the devotees, a person gains distaste for sense gratification. So, how to be detached from sense gratification? This is not possible simply chanting Aham Brahmasmi, Aham Brahmasmi. No. One has to positively engage in devotional service. Bhagavad Gita describes this. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehina rasovarjam rasopyasya param drishtva nivartate. So this is how our higher taste will be developed. This process of Krishna consciousness is the easiest process of mystic yoga. When one actually situated on the path of devotional service, then he is able to control the mind. And as soon as one controls the mind in this way, in the process of devotional service, what happens? Jitatmanaha prashantasya paramatma samaritaha. Right? So this is how Bhagavad Gita explains. Jitatmanaha prashantasya. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada writes, in all the scriptures across the religions, there is always a mention of perform the pious activities and enjoy in the next life, right? In our Sanatana Dharma, there are Karma Kanda divisions which talk about Somara, Sapsara, Svargalok. Even in other religions also, you find this mention of, the 72 hoors and everything. Why? Because the living entity is very attracted to sense gratification. Hence, Sambandha Gyan is completely tossed up. He thinks himself to be body. He thinks the goal of life is to enjoy this body. And therefore, somehow to attract the living entity, the scriptures will describe about sense gratification in this life and in the next life also. Right? But a devotee will never contemplate on sense gratification. Devotee in the association of other devotees, what he does, he prefers to contemplate on the activities of the Lord. Which are the activities of the Lord? These are the activities, the 10 subject matters, right? How the Lord has created the universe, how he is maintaining it, sarga, visarga, the creation, the dissolution, the spiritual kingdom of the Lord, the activities of the Lord. And thus, there are literatures which are describing these activities of the Lord, and especially 3 powerful literature, Bhagavad Gita, Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and Chaitanya. So these are the important literature. And devotees associate with the Supreme Lord through the scriptures. This is very important. Devotees associate with the Supreme Lord through 2 vital medium. One is through the scriptures, satam prasangat mamavirya samvido, and the second is with the association of other devotees. And this is the best way and the easiest way to attain the association of the Supreme Lord. And what is the result of such association? The result is he will naturally develop the distaste for sense gratification. Right? Naturally, he will develop that distaste. He doesn't have to extraneously work hard. He will not get attracted to sense gratification in this life or in the next life. Bhagavad Gita explains this. Yadate moha kalilam buddhirivati tarishyati tadagantasi shrotavyasya shrutasya cha. Right? So there are so many karma kanda divisions and there is so much of irresistible attraction of the higher worlds. But devotee, because he has attained the pure path of devotional service, he will let go that yadate moha kalilam buddhir vyatitarishyati. Prabhupada says there are many ways of which are called as yoga marga. There is hatha yoga, ashtanga yoga, but the best way to perform this is called as bhakti marga, and therefore this yoga is called as rujibhir yoga marga. Ruju means very easy. So this is very easy, and Prabhupada says because it is easy, it doesn't mean it is cheap. right? No, it is very easy, and at the same time, it is most sublime. Both the things simultaneously, right? In Kali Yuga, especially, this happens. Something which is very easy and which is very, very effective comes together, and which is literally free also. Correct? Like we will say this exercise. You simply walk for 30 minutes a day, and most of the things are taken care. Investing, you just go ahead with index funds, and most of the things are taken care. So Kali Yuga is such a paradox that the easiest things and the most sublime and the free simultaneously, but people will reject it. Why? Because the Kali Yuga, the mentality is such that people are very, very complex, and people feel unless it is very complex, it cannot be very effective. Prabhupada says no. Prabhupada says not only it is easiest process, but the result is extremely great. It is sublime result. And therefore, everyone should take advantage of this Krishna consciousness and reach the highest perfection of life. Right. Text 27. So we'll recite this one. Asevayayam prakritergunanam jnanena vairagya vijrumbhitena
ज्ञानेन वैराग्यविजृम्भितेन
योगेयार्पितया च भक्त्या
योगेन मय्या अर्पितया च भक्त्या
मा प्रत्यगात्मानम् इहावरुन्धे
मम प्रत्यगात्मानमिहावरुन्धे.
Translation. Thus, by not engaging in the service of the modes of material nature, but by developing Krishna consciousness, knowledge in the renunciation, and by practicing yoga, in which the mind is always fixed in devotional service unto the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one achieves my association in this very life. For I am the Supreme Personality, the Absolute Truth. Purport. When one engages in devotional service to the Lord in the 9 different kinds of bhakti-yoga, as initiated in authoritative scriptures, such as hearing Shravanam, chanting Kirtanam, remembering, offering worship, praying and offering personal service either in one of them, or 2 or 3, or all of them, he naturally has no opportunity to engage in the service of the 3 modes of material nature. Unless one has good engagements in spiritual service, it is not possible to get out of the attachment to the material service. Those who are not devotees, therefore, are interested in so-called humanitarian or philanthropic work, such as opening a hospital or charitable institution. These are undoubtedly good works in the sense that they are pious activities, and their result is that the performer may get some opportunities for, for self gratification, either in this life or in the next devotional or in the next. Devotional service, however, is beyond the boundary of sense gratification. It is completely spiritual activity. When one engages in the spiritual activities of devotional service, naturally he does not get any opportunity to engage in sense gratificatory activities. Krishna conscious activities are performed not blindly, but with perfect understanding of knowledge and renunciation. This kind of yoga practice, in which the mind is always fixed upon the Supreme Personality of Godhead in devotion, results in liberation in this very life. The person who performs such acts gets in touch with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya therefore approved the process of hearing from realized devotees about the pastimes of the Lord. It does not matter to what category of this world the audience belongs. If one meekly and submissively hears about the activities of the Lord from a realized soul, he will be able to conquer the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is unconquerable by any other process. Hearing or associating with devotees is the most important function for self-realization.
I am to whom Prakriti Gunan, the three modes of material nature, what happens? Jnanena vairagya vijrumbitena yogena maya pitaya cha bhaktya. But by developing Krishna consciousness, the knowledge and renunciation, and by practicing yoga, in which the mind is always fixed in devotional service unto the Supreme Lord, one achieves my association is
Unable to hear you, Prabhuji.
and the second is jnana and devotional service, jnana and vairagya. So there are two things, right? So we are dissociating from the three modes of associating by this process, what is fixed in devotional service to the Supreme. This is
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji, voice is too much breaking.
Yeah, chalo.
Not audible, Prabhu.
Responses in our life, right? Somebody shouts at us, and then how we deal with it, how we react to this. Reaction is our responsibility, because reaction will often drag us to the modes of material nature, right? In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains, when one engages in devotional service, one is performing one of these 9 activities or many of these 9 activities. Which are these activities? Shravana, Kirtana, Smarana, Vandana, Pada Sevana, Dasyari, Pujana, Sakhijana, Atma Nivedana. This is called as Navavidha devotional service. And when one is engaged like this, he naturally has no opportunity to engage in the three modes of material nature, right? Because when he's busy serving Krishna, he has no time for Maya. We can see some of the, very advanced devotees in our mission. We can see there are so many sannyasis. There is, the immediate example is His Grace Radhisham Prabhu, Gaurang Prabhu. There are many wonderful devotees like that. Kamal Lochan Prabhu, Mohan Rup Prabhu, wonderful devotees. But they are always engaged. And because they are always engaged in service of Krishna, there is no time for serving Maya. Right? So Lord is recommending the same process. Being so busy in Krishna consciousness that one has no gaps which are to be filled by Maya. This is very important. Prabhupada says here, unless one has a good engagement in spiritual service, it is not possible to get out of the attachment of material service. So one should have, Radhisham Prabhu always tells this, in fact, when we founded the service board, the idea was the same thing, that every devotee should have specific identifiable seva in the temple or in the preaching program. Specific identifiable service, correct? Like we have one festival which is called as Gundisha Marjanam festival. So we have, the Priti Govind Prabhu, Mudit Krishna Prabhu, Yogeshwar Gopal Prabhu, very powerfully engaged in this seva. Then we have another service called as, which will come now. Gundisha Marjanam is on 15th June, okay, in Pune. And then there is another service which is called as, yeah, so, the World Holy Name Festival that we conduct on Disappearance Day of Namacharya Haridas Thakur. Again, this set of devotees, they have very strong service there. So this is how one should have a specific identifiable service. This is very important, right? Then Further, Srila Prabhupada explains that the devotional service is beyond the boundary of sense gratification, and it is completely a spiritual activity. And more we are engaged in devotional service, lesser we will have time and energy to be engaged in Maya activities, and thus our mind will be always fixed on the Supreme Lord, which will result in liberation in very same life. And this is the process. This is the process. It's called as Rujibhir Yoga Margai. Somebody will say, what is the qualification in this process? Prabhupada says, Lord Chaitanya has approved this process that anybody and everybody can participate without, it is not the matter of what category of this world the audience belongs to. Whoever one is, Kiba Vipra, Kiba Nyasi, Kirat Hunandra Pulinda Pulukasha, anybody who is resident, anybody who is willing to accept the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, the mercy is readily available without any previous qualification. And Prabhupada's language, without any previous qualification, and dance in ecstasy. If you remember Prabhupada's, purport to Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Therefore, Prabhupada concludes, hearing or associating with devotees is the most important function of self-realization. So, very, very beautiful section of this, where the child is explaining the process to his mother. The child is none other than the Supreme Lord Kapila Muni, and mother is Devahūti. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhupada. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Thank you,
Thank
Prabhupada.
you, Prabhuji.
Thank you,
Hare
Prabhuji. Hare
Krishna.
Krishna, Prabhuji. Dharmapam, Prabhuji.
Thank
Hare
you,
Krishna.
Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
निर्वाणात्मानस्य योजितः हृदशः कतिचन चङ्गानि यतस्तत्त्वा तत्त्वबोधनं तत्त्वबोधनं यो योगो